And we are live. Hello, homemakers, and everyone in the chat or on the replay. And I'm going to try something from Walter Strong, which is tell me if you're team live or if you're on team replay. Drop me a comment in the comment section if you're here on team live or team replay. But today's topic is what do you do if you are lost in the terminal? Let's say your flight departs without you, or for whatever reason, your flight is canceled or delayed. On tonight's episode of Homemaking with Purpose, I will give you 3 tips on what to do if you miss your flight or if your flight is canceled or delayed. And hopefully, some flight attendants will jump on because I put a call out for all flight attendants to jump on. But before we get into that, welcome to Homemaking with Purpose, where we bring to you the best ideas, interviews, and information for today's homemaker. I am Denise Jordan, your host, and on tonight's episode of Homemaking with Purpose, it is brought to you by, ta-da, Apron Diva. Pretty and practical, we believe that an apron can be a homemaker's best accessory. And right now, we are wrapping up our first year anniversary celebration, and we still have a few surprise boxes left, or shall I say, surprise bags. Box number 1 is $35 and box number 2 is $31, but box 1 is actually worth $50 and box 2 is worth $45. So they come out to be about 30% off. So be sure and check those out. We've also added a kid shop on our online boutiques website so that you can see readily what we have for kids. And then, of course, we've got some other things that are back in stock. And this particular one, our Connie, is our featured apron for the week. So you can rock the red, white, and blue all year long. So, welcome to everyone. And let us just see who is here. So, Wendy says this is perfect timing. Jerry Barber says hello. And Jerry, thank you so much for joining us and for being an Apron Diva customer. And Blue Sky says she's Team Live. And hello to everyone. Team Mom is saying good evening. And Jerry says Team Live and stay home. Girl, you know it. Stay home. And then Ronnie says hello. And Dawn Thomas is also saying hello. And she's Team Live. And Dawn, did you get your apron note in the mail? Let me know in the chat whether or not you got that in the mail because you wanted it a couple weeks ago. And hello. Brother Rollins is here. I actually got to meet Brother Rollins at the Grow with Video Live YouTube conference last week. Oh my goodness, the conference was so amazing. And I learned so much as to how to serve you guys better. But I also got to meet Brother Rollins. And he's someone that I had actually met online, but never got to meet face to face. So, hey, Brother Rollins, how you doing? It is so good to have you here. Kathleen Hansen is here from Seattle. And let's see, Patience Schubert is here. And I am feeling better. However, you can tell I'm still just a little bit nasal, so it's not completely gone, but I'm better. And Blue Sky says flying is easy part is getting through security, making it to your gate on time, and all of those things that can be nerve-wracking. She typically falls asleep on the plane, so they must have a conversation going on. And Dawn says she's Team Live. And Crafty Scorpio, hey there. I haven't talked to you in a minute. It's good to have you here. So hello from Nashville. And Monica Chestnut's here from Chicago. Jen H is here. Hey, Jen. And, Ronnie, I actually feel pretty good. I'm still just a little bit tired off and on, more than I normally am. And I'm still nasal. So I'm still drinking lots of cold care tea and different kinds of tea and that kind of thing. And then there's Sue, who says, good to see me and that I am on the mend. And look at Blue Skies and Ronnie talking about me. I'm just going to ignore that conversation. So, okay. So let me give you guys the whole ugly story. And I'm just so glad you guys all joined me this week. There was no show last week because I was lost in the terminal. So, of course, I was not able to do a show. I should have done a show live from the terminal, except that I could not, because by that time I was on board and that kind of thing. So I couldn't. But yes, so let me just give you the whole ugly story and then we'll get into my 3 tips. And I'm hoping some flight attendants do jump on. If you do jump on and you're a flight attendant, let me know. And because we certainly want to hear from you. And if you want to come on live, I can also do that as well. So, okay, so this is what happened. So to start off with, I got to the airport. I'll say usually about 80 to 90 minutes ahead of my flight. And I made a few mistakes while I was on my way there or in the terminal. So I wanted to just kind of share those with you. So hopefully you can avoid those in the future. So to start off, I was afraid I'd miss my flight because security at McCarran International Airport, which is also known as the Las Vegas Airport, was absolutely crazy. I got there I got there about an hour, maybe 80 to 60 minutes prior to my flight time, which is what I usually do. But security was crazy. There were so many people in line. It was all the way backed up. And I could tell that me and a whole lot of people were going to miss our flight. And I normally get to the airport about 60 to 90 minutes earlier. Well, that might work for where you normally leave out from. But when you're in a different city, you might want to behave a little bit differently and get there a little earlier. Well, as it turned out, our flight was delayed. So we didn't miss it. So we're like, oh, cool, our flight's delayed. Everybody around me, their flights were delayed, as a matter of fact. And we were not all on the same flight. But our flights were delayed, so we were able to make our flights just fine. However, this delay put a series of dominoes into action. When we arrived in Detroit, because I was leaving Las Vegas going to Detroit, we were greeted with the message that our flight had departed. I mean, the minute we walked off the plane, you look up there, your flight's departed. We're like, what? So we missed our connection. So as I was checking my Delta app, it said I was rebooked on a really crazy flight. Like it was going to take me from Detroit to Minneapolis, St. Paul, to Atlanta, and then to Fort Wayne. Now, Fort Wayne is a 35-minute flight from Detroit, but it was going to take me all around to get to where I needed to be. So the gate agent said, go to the help desk and see what they can do. By the time I walked down to the help desk, there was a line. By the time I got to the front of the line, the flight that I was supposed to be booked on was no longer available. And now I had nothing. And I waited probably another 30 minutes before I was actually booked onto another flight. And this flight now was going to be the next day at 4:30. And the problem for me was I still had to go to Minneapolis, St. Paul, but at least when I left Minneapolis, St. Paul, I would be coming straight to Fort Wayne rather than Atlanta and then Fort Wayne. So there was that. Keeping in mind again that Detroit is a 35-minute flight from Fort Wayne. And I was going to get home about 11:30 that night. So there was that. So the kind Delta clerk said they'd give me a hotel. And typically, if they have to book you on a flight that is like the next day, they will tend to give you overnight accommodations and a food voucher. So they put me up in a hotel and they gave me a food voucher. And it was this young guy that was working the desk. So I said, okay, I'm your mother. Which hotel would you recommend for your mother? Because he said there's a whole list of them, just pick one. I'm like, I don't know what to pick. I don't know anything about Detroit. So I said, I'm your mother. Which one would you want your mother to pick? So he told me which one to pick. He said, this one is clean and safe. Choose that one. So, okay. So he sent me on my way. When I was supposed to catch the hotel shuttle and I would be good to go. At least that's what I thought. Well, they sent me a link to access the hotel. And when I tried to reserve my room, they wanted my credit card number, which I was not prepared to give them. So after dealing with them on the phone, because one of them ladies at one of the kiosks there, I guess she was one that helped sign people up for credit cards and did other little bits of assistance to help passengers. She said, call them back on this number. So I called the local number, talked to them, and they said, you need to go back to the desk, have them reissue the voucher because the voucher was supposed to come up with a number and all kind of stuff so that I would already be booked. So I had to go back to the help desk. And after standing in line at another help desk for another 20 minutes, they reissued the hotel voucher. And this time when I clicked on it, it popped up, gave me a phone number. I was registered at the hotel. And I asked, well, how will I get there? What's the hotel shuttle? And it's a good thing I asked because I was going to be staying at the hotel called the 4 Points by Sheraton. However, she told me to catch the Holiday Inn shuttle. There was no way I would have known that. And I don't know if the person that was downstairs for all the different little buses and ground transportation would have known that either. So the next was the use of the food voucher. So this one popped up on my Delta app, and I've got the Delta app on my phone. So here's my phone, and you can see the Delta app like right there. So I could just click that little Delta app, the food voucher would pop up, and then when they reissued the hotel voucher, it would pop up there as well. Well, the food voucher was for $15. And I'm thinking, well, where can I eat in the airport for $15? So I looked around, and most places it was a little more than $15, but it wasn't too much off of that. But I thought all the places there, they had long lines. So I thought, well, I'll just eat when I get to the hotel, because I was told that the hotel, number one, they would take the food voucher, and many of the restaurants around the hotel would take the food voucher. Well, by the time I got to the hotel, which did not say 4 Points by Sheraton, it said Marriott. So I'm like, did he bring me to the right place? So I went inside to ask, am I at the right place? And they're like, yeah, this is it. So why it had a different name, I don't know. Well, by this time, it was almost 8 o'clock. Well, what I discovered was that the hotel restaurant was closed. So when I asked about getting something to eat, the desk clerk said, well, there's this place, and this place, and they're all about 5 minutes walking distance. So I'm thinking, it's 8 o'clock at night. I'm in Detroit. I don't know anything about the area. I'm not walking anywhere to get some food. So she said, there's lots of places that deliver, and they all take the food vouchers. Okay, cool. So by the time I got up to my room, called several different places, there was only one place that actually delivered that took the food voucher. And for that place, you had to have a $20 minimum plus the delivery fee plus the tip. So for this $15 food voucher, which I was trying to use, I probably spent a good $30. So I spent 15 of my own dollars plus the $15 food voucher. I would have been better off just getting something to eat at the airport rather than waiting to get to the hotel. All right, so, and it looks like there might be a couple people having trouble seeing the chat. Make sure you have live chat on, not top chat, but you want live chat on. So make sure you have that on. Okay. So anyway, so I got the food, ordered it, and the food wasn't that great, but it did fill a hole in my belly. So I got that, spent the night, a comfortable, somewhat restful night at the hotel. quiet and relatively restful. But there was another problem. I had no clothes. I had checked my luggage and I packed everything in my checked bag. So my carry-on bag was my handbag. And then I had a book bag, which you guys know I usually carry, but it has my tech stuff in it. My iPad, my Kindle, my notebook from the conference, a couple books that I had gotten, whatever, and my medication. So that was all that was in that bag. So I'm like, okay, so now I'm at the hotel and I had no clothes. So what did I spend the night in? Well, if you saw the picture of me in the thumbnail, I had worn a dress and I had like a little black, kind of like a little hoodie that I had tied around my waist just in case it was chilly. So I slept in that and my bra and my underslip. I sudsed my undies out in the sink, and I know this is TMI, but I didn't have any other choice. I sudsed them out in the sink and draped them over the air conditioner to dry so they would be dry by morning. Well, needless to say, they were still slightly damp, but I had to put them on slightly damp, and then they kind of dried by my body temperature by the time I got to the airport. So there was that. So it was quite an interesting trip. And I caught the shuttle back to the airport, and I had to reserve the shuttle there at the hotel because what I learned is that this shuttle probably goes a couple different places, and if you wanted to come and get you, you have to reserve a time, and then they call about 20 minutes before it's time for them to pick you up, and then it comes to get you and then takes you to the airport. And it was only about a 20-minute ride, but still you had to reserve the shuttle, so there was that. So needless to say, I caught the shuttle back to the hotel, to the airport the next day, and I got home with no additional drama. And I said, thank you, Lord Jesus. When I arrived in Fort Wayne, Nikki Blue Skies was there to pick me up. And trust me, I prayed and said that prayer several times throughout the night and on my way home. So there was that. It was quite an eventful trip, to say the least. So for those of you that are just joining us, I am sharing the ugly details of my day when I was lost in the terminal. If you've seen the movie The Terminal with Tom Hanks, you guys will know what I meant. It was like he was going to he couldn't leave that terminal for almost a year. And I felt like I'd been in that terminal forever. So I thought, I'm lost in the terminal. And so that movie just kept running through my head. So if you guys have not seen it, do check it out. It's quite interesting. But that was how I felt while I was there. And then here's something else that's also kind of interesting. So I was participating in a 7-day dress challenge. Inspired by Nikki, had challenged her viewers to wear a dress every day for 7 days, just to see how they might be received, if they receive any different attention, whatever. And whereas I usually wear dresses every day, or most days, I don't usually wear them in the airport. And I was going to a conference in Vegas, and sometimes it's kind of chilly. So I thought, then I thought, okay, I can wear a dress in the airport and to the conference. So that blue and white striped dress that you guys see on the thumbnail, that was going to be my airport dress. So I wore it in the airport on the trip down, and it was going to be the dress that I wore in the airport on the trip back. Well, needless to say, when I put it on Wednesday on the trip back, I also had to wear it on Thursday on the trip back because I didn't have any other clothes. The dress held up pretty good, but I just was not real happy having to wear that dress 2 days in a row in the airport. And like I said, I didn't have to sleep in it. I slept in, like I said, my underwear, so to speak, and my warm-up jacket. But I was not best pleased. So now let me just see what people are saying over here, because I know you guys are cracking up on me. Ronnie says they're going to have to tie me down. Well, not quite. Hey, Kim, it's so glad to have you here. And I am trying to take care of myself. And Kim's Real Living is Real Life. It says hello from her Wisconsin farm. And let's see. Debbie Joe says hello to Blue Skies and everyone else. And Nettie, yes, it was absolutely crazy, but that's where it was. So Tina Weber says it would have been quicker to drive than fly. And actually, it would have, because when I was at the desk trying to get a new flight arranged, there were some other guys like at the very next agent, because there was two agents at the help desk that I was at. One of them said, "Look, I can drive home in 3 hours. I can drive home in like an hour and a half." So he was going to rent a car and was trying to see if the airline would pay for a rental car, which it would not. And I almost said to the guy, "Can I ride home with you?" But it was someone I didn't know. So, of course, I didn't say that. But I'm like, you can drive to Fort Wayne from the Detroit airport in probably an hour and a half, 2 hours at the most. But that wasn't an option. But yes, it would have been quicker to drive, but that wasn't something that I could do. Um, Debbie Joe says, how do you turn the captions on? And you should have live chat, Debbie Joe. There should be live chat. And then Blue Sky said she would have driven up there to pick me up, but no, she could not. I wouldn't expect her to do that. Oh, those kind of captions. Now that, I don't think we have that option for those kind of captions. I didn't set that up. I'm sorry. Mickey Blue Skies are trying to help you see that. I don't think I've got it enabled for live stream. Okay, so yeah. Well, Kim, there's not as many people to make that drive to come pick me up as there used to be. First of all, so many people have either moved away or have died. So I don't have that option. My husband was away on a week-long fishing trip, and he wasn't going to be home until Saturday. I had planned to be home on Wednesday night. So, and my son, who works, could not leave and come and get me then. So I just thought I'll just spend the night and fly home the next day. It was just the easiest of the options. Uh, hey, Deborah Little John. I knew a person named, no, her name was Jean Littlejohn when I was in high school. But welcome, Debbie. I'm glad to have you with us. So Kadia says, press the screen at the top right. It might be up there. So look to see if it's up there for that. Or are you telling me to do that? Let me see. No. I don't see a place for me to get captions on this live stream. And I don't want to mess it up. Hey, Luann, good to have you here. Good to have you here. Oh, earbuds. Yes, you could put on earbuds. That's a good idea. Sandra's laughing. Well, not laughing, but she's saying, so sorry about all my problems. They had problems flying to Houston in February. They missed a nonstop flight and ended up in Nashville, Tennessee. Trust me, I get it. Hey, Rachel, how's that baby doing? Let us know how you're coming along. Okay, and that's for the viewer. All right. So that was my sad story about what took place for me. So now, just as a refresher, again, for those of you that just joined us, I gave my sad story about being lost in the terminal. And then, as usual, this episode is brought to you by Apron Diva. And tonight's featured apron is that one back there, the Connie, as well as our surprise boxes that we also have as we wrap up our anniversary celebration. So now let's get into the tips that I have, okay? Oh, you missed what carrier I was on as my guest. I was on Delta. Okay, so these are the tips that I figured out. So the first thing that I encourage you to do when all of this goes down is to remain calm. And when I got home, it was the next day that I realized that Delta, among other airlines, had canceled hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of flights. And I was just caught up in the mix. So that's number one. And when I got to Vegas, I was waiting on my roommate to get there, and she sent me a text and said they have been sitting on the tarmac for an hour and they couldn't leave because they were told that Las Vegas was not accepting any flights. I'm like, how can Vegas not be accepting any flights? So they sat there on the tarmac for over an hour until they got enough either air traffic controllers or enough staff or whatever that the flight was able to leave, and then she was able to get there to Vegas. So she didn't get there when she expected, but it wasn't a crazy time. So there was that. So the conference that I went to was the Grow with Video Live conference. It's the conference held every year by Sean Cannell, and it's to help YouTubers learn how to serve their audiences better. So I learned a lot. So hopefully you guys will see some improvements in what I do on YouTube. But again, first of all, remain calm, because there was a lot of irate people at the counter. And I tell you what, one man just walked up and started threatening to sue, and he's yelling and screaming at the gate clerk. And it's like, it's not her fault. She's doing the best she can to help him and others sort out their problems. So if you come up there and you're excited, unruly, or nasty, it doesn't help the situation, and it makes the agent less willing to help you. Now, they will do their job and they will assist you in getting what you need, but they might not work as hard as they could, or they might not go above and beyond. So you want to make sure that you remain pleasant. That's number one. And then the first tip, though, that I want to give is in your small carry-on bag. Make sure you have one, an extra set of underwear. You want to have medications for an extra day or two for just in case. And even though I was planning to come back on Wednesday, I always set up an extra day's worth of meds. So I had meds for Thursday for just in case. And it's a good thing I did. Otherwise, I would have had Thursday with no medication with me. So there's that. Also, put in a comb, a brush, a toothbrush, and cords for your electronic devices. Now, I don't always carry a comb in my purse because I usually comb my hair before I leave the house, and I don't usually comb it again until I get ready to go to bed that night. But when I'm going away from home, I make a point to put the comb in my purse. I'm so glad I did. So I had a comb in my purse. I didn't have a bonnet, but I did have a comb in my purse, so I could comb my hair the next day. Didn't have anything else because I had checked it all, put it all in my checked bag, and it was in there. So make sure you have those items in your carry-on bag. And you know, when Simply Sherry from Sherry's Travels was on, and she talked about packing for travel, she talked about that. She talked about putting some of those things in your carry-on luggage. Well, I've never had my luggage lost. Typically, it gets there when I get there. There's only been once in my whole history of flying that it didn't arrive when I did, and the airline delivered it the next day to my front porch. So that wasn't something I was worried about. So I didn't have any of that stuff. And then as far as my cords for my electronic devices, I usually put those in my tech bag. Why on this particular day did I stick them in a pocket on my suitcase? I do not know. But that night in the hotel, when I got ready to plug in my devices, I had no cords. They were not in my purse. They were not in my tech bag. I was afraid that I had left them in the room in Vegas. So I called to find out. They didn't have anything. They said they'd let me know if they found anything. In the meantime, I had no cords for my phone, my iPad, or my Kindle. So one of the things that Blue Sky said was, when you get to the airport, you're going to have to at least buy a set of cords for your phone, which is what I did. $60. I went to Brookstone. I had to buy a cord and I had to buy a brick. So when I say a cord and a brick, we'll say this is the cord. There's the cord. That's not the one I bought, but you know, that's what it's like. And here's a brick. And this is the brick that I bought. This isn't the one, but I bought one similar to this. The brick was $30. $30 for the brick and $30 for the cord. $60. I was like, what? But I didn't have any other options. So I just bought the one for the phone because I figured the iPad, if it goes out on the way home, I don't need it. Whatever I'm doing on my phone or whatever I need, my phone can take care of it. So there's that. So why I broke pattern, I don't know, because I always put those things in my tech bag. But for some reason this time I did not. So there's that. Okay. So there's that. Let me just see if I got any other notes. So okay, so there's that. So that's tip number one. If you have a baby, you want to make sure that you pack enough formula or food for 1 or 2 extra days. Now, probably that diaper bag is full of stuff for the next few days. But just in case you only put enough, you were thinking, well, I'm just going to put enough in the carry-on bag for one day. Put enough in the carry-on bag for 2 or 3 days, and the rest of the stuff you can put in your checked bag. And of course, you want to keep that bag with you, which most of the moms will have their carry-on diaper bag with them, that kind of thing. But with the problem with the formula shortage today, you want to make sure you've got enough formula for an extra day or two in the airport, just in case you have to spend that time there. And something else you might even consider doing when you know you're going to spend extra time in the airport is call ahead if you're visiting family or friends and ask them to try to pick up some formula for you wherever they are, so that in case you use more than anticipated in the airport, there's some waiting for you on the other end, knowing that it may take them a little bit of looking to get some on their end as well. But try to plan ahead and see if someone can help you out with that. This just gives you a little bit of a cushion in case you used more in the airport than you planned. And here's the other thing: have some emergency cash for food. Either emergency cash for food either in the airport or in whatever overnight accommodation that may be provided. Now, here's the thing: I had extra money. I had my debit card and I had extra cash in my wallet. I just didn't want to spend it on extra food in the airport. However, number one, you don't need it until you need it. So have some emergency cash that's just in your carry-on bag that you only use for emergencies in the airport. And then go ahead and spend it. Don't try to think, oh, well, I'll just wait till I get to the hotel, because what I know now is better to spend those few extra dollars in the airport and just be done with it, because those places are all open. You've got quite a few choices. And even if there's a little bit of a line, they're open and you can be served for you and your family or whatever. So take advantage of what's available in the airport, because once you get to your overnight accommodations, one, those restaurant or eating facilities may be closed, or two, they may not take the airport vouchers. So there's something to think about there. Tip number 2 is make sure you've downloaded the app for your airline or from your flight, so that you can get updates on your cell phone as soon as possible. Now, I usually will fly Delta. So like I said, here's the Delta app right there. I usually fly Delta. And they update you: flights delayed, flights canceled, flights on time, your bags are here. They app kept me updated as to where my bags were. Your bags have been uploaded on the Minneapolis-St. Paul airport. Your bags are on their way to Fort Wayne. I'm thinking that's just great. I'm still in Detroit. So my bags have hit Minneapolis-St. Paul. They've hit Fort Wayne. I'm still in Detroit waiting, to board, that kind of thing. But at least I had those updates. The other thing is that turn your phone back on as soon as you land and you can have your devices in use, because that way you get those updates quicker, and then you can get on the phone and start trying to call if you need to scramble and make some different arrangements. I lost out while I stood there in line waiting to speak to a gate agent. And even when the gate agent was trying to rebook me, people were filling up the seat. So there was a gate agent beside him, and there's gate agents in other places, and there's people online trying to book. So I lost out on seats while I was standing there in line. So if I had got online and myself, I might have been able to accommodate myself a lot quicker. So it's important to act quickly. And I will say too, it could be a toss-up as to whether or not it's quicker to have help from the gate agent or to try to make some arrangements yourself online. I don't know, but I'm just saying, if you're pretty tech savvy, that could be your best bet. Because it's really important to act quickly. And again, for those of you, if you're just joining us, I've already related the ugly story of me being lost in the terminal when my flight was delayed leaving Vegas. So when we got to Detroit, we missed our connection. And then because of that, and there were so many people who had missed their connection, they were trying to rebook and reboot, that I couldn't be accommodated until the next day on the flight. So I had to spend the night in a hotel, and my bag was checked all the way through. So I literally had nothing but my purse and my tech bag. So it was not pretty. But anyway, so that's where we are. So tip number 1 was to make sure that you have in your small carry-on bag that you have a toothbrush, an extra set of underwear, comb, brush, and cords for your electronic devices in your carry-on bag. And then if you've got a baby with you, make sure you've got enough extra food and formula for a couple of days, just in case. And then tip number 2 was to make sure you download the app for the airline or the flight that you're on. And it's good to have those boarding passes and that kind of thing on your phone, but also have the pencil and paper version or the hard copy version in case you don't have a cord, your phone dies, you've at least got a paper version you can pull out of your bag. You want to have all of that because it's got lots of information on that paper boarding pass. So that's just something to think about. Okay. And then, of course, act quickly. And then a reminder that Apron Diva is our sponsor. We've got our surprise bags on sale as we wrap up our month of anniversary. All right. And then tip number 3 is to make sure that your baggage is labeled inside and out. That means you have a baggage tag or luggage tag on the outside of the bag, identifying to whom that bag belongs. But you should also have a tag either taped somewhere inside the bag in an inside pocket or somewhere identifying that. So let me show you what I mean. So here's my bag. And do you guys know there must be 68 trillion billion red bags? I cannot believe how many red bags I see going around that conveyor belt. So that's number 1. So this is my tag for my outside luggage tag. So, you know, it's pretty observable. It's bright green. It's got my sorority on there. But inside, it's got a card with my home address and phone number and all that stuff. I also put this little ribbon on here, which helps me identify my bag. But as I think about it now, though, it's trying to find it. It's not always the most visible. However, I can always see that. And then on the back of this bag, there's like this little thing here. It's like a luggage or ID card. And inside there is a business card with my information on it. And then there's also this little folder here, which I normally don't put stuff in, but what's in it is one of those little Delta cards where I've got my information on it again. So just in case, I've got the bag pretty much labeled. So in case this outside bag or tag comes off, the bag can still be identified. So there's that to do. They talked about that on an Oprah show years ago, and I've always remembered to do that. So tip number 3 is to make sure you've got your bag labeled, not only on the outside, but also on the inside. And one of the things that I was worried about is that I would, since I wouldn't be there to pick my bag up, that it would just be going around and around and around on the conveyor belt. Well, what I learned from the baggage attendants is that they have someone that observes the baggage claim area, and that if there's not someone there to pick the luggage up in a timely fashion, they pick the luggage up and they put it in the back. But one of the things that you can do is that you can call your airline immediately and open a ticket for missed flight baggage claim. That way, they'll be sure to be on the lookout for it, and then they'll kind of help you track it and things like that. I didn't worry too much about that because, like I said, Delta updated me along the way as to where my bag was. And our airport here locally is fairly small, and there's not usually any problems with your luggage disappearing or anything like that. And so it was okay. But if you are in a different area, it could be an issue. And one of the people, someone the pink tagged bag, someone grabbed the wrong one off of the little conveyor. You know, when the attendants bring it up where you've checked your bag, like plain side, somebody grabbed the wrong bag. So they kept calling over the loudspeaker, please return that bag so you could get the correct one and all that kind of thing. So there's that. So those are my 3 tips for what to do if your flight's delayed or canceled. The other thing to think about is if you've got children with you and you're waiting to board your flight, you want to try to sit as close to the gate where you're going to be getting on as possible, but try to pick an area that's got some room around the seat so that the kids can move around and play and that kind of thing. Because, you know, once you get on board, they're going to be confined to their seats and that kind of thing. So that's just something to think about. And then let them kind of play a little bit so that once they get on and they have to be quiet, maybe they'll be tired enough that they'll drop off to sleep. And then you also want to make sure you've got plenty of stuff for them to play with while they're in their seats. Something else to think about is to change the baby's diaper prior to boarding if at all possible. But there is like a little fold down table that's in that little teeny tiny bathroom that's on board. So there's that. And like I said, if you get food vouchers along with overnight accommodations for your family, I'd eat at the airport if at all possible. So let's see what people are saying over here. See, Rachel's talking about her baby that she's expecting. When's the baby due, Rachel? I think it's the baby due in another few weeks. I'm thinking the baby's due in a few weeks. So the conference was Grow with Video Live. That was the conference that I went to. Yeah, Grow with Video Live. Rachel's baby's due July 23rd. Linda says smaller airports are the best. They're equal distance from Chicago and Milwaukee, so they go to Milwaukee whenever possible. We only have one airport in our area, and it's the one here in Fort Wayne. And then typically when you leave here, you go to Detroit or you go to Atlanta to get anywhere else. So, excuse me. Sue says she got her luggage lost once when she went to Austin, and she only tagged around the handle and the handle broke off. And she also put free tags from the airline on all zipper pulls on her luggage. That's a thought. So free tags from the airline on all zipper pulls. I've not done that, but I've got the free tag from the airline down inside that extra pocket. And then that might be one that I might put inside the bag as well. But yeah, sometimes those outside tags, for whatever reason, they get pulled off. And so you need to have something else identifying it, certainly 1 or 2. So Kim says she puts a scarf around hers that can easily be identified on the carousel. My husband puts bright orange plumber's tape, not plumber's tape, duct tape around his bags. And I think it looks so tacky. It is just tacky, but he can always pick his out. He'll put a bright orange strip all the way around his bag. So when it comes around the conveyor belt, he spots it just like that. I don't want that on mine because it looks so tacky, but He never has trouble finding his. So I probably should rethink that. Um, let's see. Let me back up for a little bit because I'm getting in the middle of conversations now. Um, so Blue Sky says pack extra medicine for 3 days just in case. That's probably a good idea. I packed enough for one extra day, thinking, well, I'll be home the next day. But yeah, 3 days is probably a good idea. And then Tina says she always has an extra set of clothes in her backpack, just a pair of thin sweatpants and a t-shirt. Tina, trust me, from now on, I will. Because even just something as simple as a t-shirt and a pair of yoga pants would have been perfect to sleep in, but all of that was packed in my bag that I checked. So there's that. Hey, Mrs. B, good to have you. Um, let's see. So Linda says she would not have thought about having a few overnight items in a carry-on. Never considered that my bag was checked and no longer available. See, that's the thing. I've never not had my bag arrive when I arrived, except for once in the more than 20 years that I've flown. So it's not something I worry about. But my bag had gone on and I was still there and I had nothing but what was in my handbag, which I don't normally carry all that stuff in there. So there's that. So yeah, that's a good idea to put in a thin pair of sweatpants and a t-shirt to at least have something to sleep in. So hey, Laquana, good to have you. Um, Kim says she learned the hard way when all her luggage did not arrive with her in Chicago. So now she travels with all that stuff in a carry-on. Even if you only had one set of garments in the carry-on, at least enough to get you through a day. So you're not having to suds out things in the sink. So at least you have enough to get you through the day until the next day. So there's that. And then Tina says she's had too many times that she's been bumped or had canceled flights. So yeah. I didn't think to ask the hotel about an extra charger. Didn't think about that, but that's certainly think about next time. Yes, it was $60, 30 for the cord and 30 for the brick. Oh, thank you, Barbara. I appreciate that. And you know what? I was thinking these are pretty simple tips, but they're things that I found out to be necessary and could be helpful if you're planning to have it next time. And I was hoping a flight attendant would jump on and could give us more information that I don't know about. So Rachel said she paid $45 for one a few weeks ago. Yeah, they are pricing. Yep, the bricks are separate and they don't come in your devices anymore. So when I ordered my new iPad I didn't get a brick, I just got the cord. So you have to buy the bricks separately. And Barbara, if my luggage was with me, I would have been prepared. But since the bag that I checked was checked all the way through, those things weren't in my handbag or my tech bag, which I'll make sure that doesn't happen again. So yeah. So yeah, packing meds. Oh, Dawn did not receive her apron note. Okay, I'll make sure she gets it. So now Sue says they're in hurricane season. And so packing 3 days worth of emergency supplies is a minimum for an emergency. Yeah. So if you guys are into that, then there's some things to start thinking about now. Uh, you are quite welcome. And you've not received the apron note. I'll make sure I'll resend it if you didn't get it. I'll resend it. So I'll just make sure to do that. I'm glad you like the reminders. Ha! Lola says her husband has bright red duct tape on his black suitcase. Yeah, mine has this bright orange, but you know what? It works for them, and he always has it. So there's that. So let's talk about the apron note tonight. The winner for the apron note is where did she send me that? Debbie Taylor is the winner of tonight's apron note. And I got it right here beside me. I got them sitting right here. That's not the one for tonight. This is the one for tonight. Ha! Look what this one is. It says, "Carve out time for yourself daily" by the Apron Diva. So that's tonight's apron note. And let me attach it to tonight's notes so that I'll write the name Debbie Taylor on here. So Debbie, what I need you to do is send me your mailing address via my email. This is the email address that I want you to send your mailing address to. Don't put it in the chat. You want to don't put it in the chat. What you want to do is put it in this email, because in the chat is open so everyone can see it, and you don't want everybody to see your mailing address. So put it to this email address, and then I will get that out to you. And let me write down the carve out. Okay, so there's that. And then Dawn, I'll make sure you get yours. Because you should have had it by now. All right. Let me come back over here to comments. Oh, Debbie Littlejohn says this is the first time watching from Washington, D.C. Oh, welcome, Debbie. I don't think I picked that up before. I'm so glad that you were able to join me. Thank you. And I hope you find something to make you want to come back again. And then now let me, Lola says she has blue painter's tape on the handle of hers. And LG has said she's here live, but 45 minutes late. You know what, LG? You can always catch the replay, and it's fun. So now I've got some Happy Mail, and this is the interesting thing. One piece of Happy Mail that I've got tonight is from Barbara Bricky, and here Barbara was on tonight. So Barbara, I'm glad you're here. And in her Happy Mail, very nice little note, and she thanks me for sharing what I do here on my YouTube channel. But she also sent me a sticker. Look how lovely that is. In one of my videos, she saw that I always wanted to go to Paris. That's my dream, is to go to Paris. So she sent me this sticker that says, "I love Paris," and I can put it on like a really nice little wine glass. And think about that. And then in one of my videos, I can't remember which one it was now, but my editor was helping me with the edits, and she was looking at all the paintings that I have in our home, and she said it just reminded her of Paris. So on the song in the video, it says, "Take me to Paris. Let's go to Paris in the spring." And it was so nice. So that's the Happy Mail for this week. Well, one of them is from Barbara Bricky. The other Happy Mail I did show last week, but I wanted to show it again because I was just so proud of it. And this one is an apron that I got from Debbie Johnson. And I just think it is just so lovely. And let me just back up so you guys can see it. But isn't this just so pretty? It's got two really deep pockets. And look how colorful. Just so colorful. And I just love it. A nice little muslin. And you can't even see it, but let me show you this. So then at the bottom, she embroidered fruit. And then she also embroidered a tea towel. So when I'm working, I can just tuck it in there, and I've got it to use together. So there's that. I just wanted to show it again because it's just so lovely, and I'm so proud of it. So you'll be seeing me wear this in a video soon. But then Happy Mail that I got also that same week was this box of soaps that I got from Julie Lovedale. She started her own little business. So I wanted to show hers again because I wanted to talk about her and Kadia from Her Healthy Home, who was on tonight as well. Both these young ladies have started their own business. And so Kadia has her, and I put a little banner on here because I wanted to mention it. So Kadia at Her Healthy Home, her business is called Pure, and it's like an herbal education business. She has courses. She does some live streams about like making teas and different things like that. And one of her most recent videos is what to do with your excess herbs. So like right now in this late spring, when your herbs are starting to grow and they're looking kind of nice and fresh, is the time to pick them. So you should be sure and check out her latest video or one of her videos about that. And then Julie Lovedale started a business called Composure Essentials. And I put the name of it there, but she makes like soaps and things like that. So I wanted you guys to see those again. So I'm just so proud of these two young ladies that are just doing good things. So I wanted to be sure you guys saw that. And yes, the apron is so pretty. Oh, and so Barbara is still on. Good. I don't know why that keeps popping up. Yes, Barbara, I did like it. She said she watched all the old videos, so I'm so glad you saw that. And then Nanny J says she likes the pleats and the embroidery. I just love it. So I just want to make sure people saw it again in case they missed it. And let's see. Oh, so Tina's asking where do I get my dresses? I get some of them I've gotten on Amazon, and I've got some links in not this description box, but I will put it in there. But they're in my Amazon store. Some of them I got on Amazon. My blue and white striped one that I wore in the airport, I think I got that one at Target. And then other places where I will shop for dresses is Macy's. And sometimes I'll find something at J.C. Penney's. So I was in Memphis most recently and I found 3 dresses at Dillard's. So yeah, you find them at different places. So wanted you guys to know that. So I got to send Nikki my 7 days of dresses pictures, but 3 of the 7 days I got on the same dress. 2 of the 7 I thought would have been okay because airport coming, airport going, those 2 different ones. But I ended up with 3 days in the same dress. But I thought what it is what it is. I wore a dress and, so there's that. Hey, Kate, how are you? It is so nice that you could join us tonight. She's talking about making frugal living fun. And so, yeah, Kate, you'll have to join us again on the show because now that school is out, you might have a lot of good ideas to share on being frugal and what you're going to do with that little one over the summer. So think about coming back on the show, talk about that. But yes, Kate is always fun. And let's see. Blue Skies is talking to Kadia about her cookbook. Oh, where did I put the cookbook? Oh, that's right. I could have shown that, but I don't have it with me right now. Oh, I am so sorry, Kadia. I had it out doing something with it, and then I didn't think to bring it up here. Oh, wait. I do have it. Mickey Blue Skies, thank you for reminding me. Everyday Herbs. This is Kadia Preciado's book, Meditations from the Heart and Recipes from the Soil. So in addition to checking out her YouTube channel, be sure and pick up a copy of her recipe book. So again, like I said, these young ladies are doing great things. Actually, they're putting me to shame because I'm like, okay, I should be doing a couple other things that I'm going to start working on. But there was that. So JC says her dad put a big X with masking tape on both sides on her first flight, brand new Samsonite. She was 17. and going to fly for the first time, was going to boot camp and was too embarrassed, but it worked. So yes, JC, that does work. Like I said, my husband never lost his. So Tina, yeah, look at my Amazon store because some of the ones that I found, I just ordered some other dresses most recently and they were terrible. And so I'm fighting with the company that I ordered them from because I want them to give me my money back. And they're like, well, you can keep them and we'll give you $50. Like, no, I don't want to keep them. They're too, I can't even wear them. I want my money back. Well, we'll give you $100. Will that be enough? Like, no, I spent $284. I want my $284 back. And they're like, well, but if you send it back, you have to foot the freight. I said, you're telling me to keep them. So if I keep them, I'm going to donate them because there's nothing I can do with them. But I need my money back. It was called K Red. This is the people that I ordered from. So if you see that online, please don't even think about ordering from these people. I would not. I would not. I would not. So JC says she likes so many of my aprons. Hard to decide which ones to get. You know what? There's one for everybody on there. And now we've got some other fans of cakes on here. Oh yeah, JC, thank you for your service. I forgot to say that. So okay. Well, all right, ladies, we have certainly covered our topic very well. You guys know I don't want to just keep you on and just chat about nothing. So yes, don't order from K Red. Stay far away because like I said, the stuff that came was terrible. And I thought, okay, I cannot keep this. And now I'm battling with them. It took 6 or 7 weeks for them to get here. And then when they came, they were terrible. So there's that. So Miss Lovely says, thanks for sharing my tips based on my recent experience. How creative for a topic. Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, listen, I'm going to let you guys go. I will see you guys another time next week. Hopefully, I can have up the interview with the young mother of twins. I think you guys will like that. So if not, we'll see. Anyway, see you guys next time. Peace. Do I sound like I'm in the 1960s? Some days I am. Good night, all.